Hi, in this video I'm just going to explain the PowerPoint that I sent to you in that email. So what we want to do is we're going to look at percentages. Now remember, percentage means percent. Per means out of or divide, and cent is 100. So you can see that reflected in the symbol, divide by 100. Now I'm going to look at our base unit of 100%, which means 100 divided by per 100. So 100% equals 1. So this is an important concept to understand, and we'll look at that a little bit further. Now, basically, when we're doing percentage problems, they come in two main types. I'm going to call it type A for when you have to write a value or amount as percentages. So basically, you're given values and your answer is a percentage. An example of this might be a student gets 16 marks out of a total 24 marks in a test. What is the percentage grade? 16 out of 24 might be a bit hard to visualise, but we all get used to understanding things out of 100. We can see where they are. So we're going to write our 16 out of 24 as a fraction, 16, and that vincular means divided by 24. And we're going to times it by 100%. Now remember, 100% is 1, so we're not changing the value, but we're going to leave that percentage sign in. 16 divided by 24 is 0.625, multiplied by 100. Remember, we multiply by 100, our values increase two house values, so it ends up with 62.5%. So you could do all that on your calculator, nice and easy. Now the other type of percentage problem, I'm just going to call type B, no real reason, just mine, what I'm calling it. You have to find a percentage or a value of another amount. So in this case, you're given a percentage and your answer is a value. So an example of what I mean here is the fact that we might have 45% of people in a company are female. And the question might be, if the company has 220 employees, how many females are there? So what the question is really asking me to do is to find 45% of 220. 45%, remember, percent means divided by 100, so 45 divided by 100 times 220. The other way you might be able to think about that is if I want to find 1%, because remember percentages are just fractions out of 100, I can go 220 divided by 100 to give me 1%, and then multiply that by 45. Both ways of thinking are perfectly fine, and they're going to give you exactly the same answer. So 45 divided by 100 is 0.45, and this is a really useful tool to have, especially when we get to more complicated questions. So 0.45 times 220 gives us 99. So there are 99 females who work at that company. Now on this slide, what I have is I've got our really common fraction, decimal, percentage relationships. Because remember, a percentage is just a fraction out of 100. A decimal is also a type of fraction, where the value it's out of is depending on what house it is. So 0.5, the 5 is in the tenths column, so that's 5/10. And a fraction is what we know of, so a half. So let's have a look at that first simple fraction. 1/2, 1 divided by 2, we know is 0.5 or 50%. We're happy with that one. A quarter we know as 0.25, and you can test it on your calculator. Go 1 divided by 4, and it's going to give you 0.25, and that's 25%. Now 3/4 is just 3 lots of 0.25, or 3 lots of 25%, which gives us our 75%. Now this is where it gets really interesting. 1/3. If you did this on your calculator, 1 divided by 3, you're going to get 0.33333333, and that keeps on recurring. Now, often you'll see that written as 33 1/3%. Now, these fractions that I've chosen here, or these percentages that I've chosen here, are because they're easier to calculate as a fraction. 2/3. You'll see if you do 2 divided by 3 on your calculator, you're going to get 0.66666666, and the last digit will be a 7 because your calculator will round up. But if you see it written on a for sale sign or something like that, you'll often see it written as 66 2/3%. 1/5 is 1 divided by 5 is 0.2 or 20%, and 1/10 is 0.1 or 10%. So if I had 2/5, it's 2 lots of 0.2, which would be 0.4 or 40%. 3/5 will be 60%, 4/5 will be 80%, and the same again with our tenths. Now, these common must-know fraction, decimal, percentage relationships are really important because for these particular ones, it's much easier when we're doing our calculations to use the fraction. So example, if I wanted to find 25% of something, yes, I could multiply it by 0.25, but if I know that 25% is the same as a quarter, I can just divide it by 4. Even more importantly, that if I see something written that there's a 33 1/3% discount, to find the amount of the discount, if I did it just going with my calculator, I go 0.33333, typing it in, that doesn't make sense. It's much more accurate and much easier just to know that 33 1/3% is the same as 1/3. So I could just divide it by 3. Or if I saw 66 2/3%, to recognise that that's the same as 2/3, I could just divide it by 3 to find 1/3, and then just double it to find 2/3. So for these fractions, these are ones that I want you to remember. I want you to know these ones and to recognise that when you see any of these percentages and calculations, think of what they are as a fraction, and it's going to be much easier to calculate, especially if you don't have a calculator at hand. Now, the next type of question that we're going to look at is not only when you just have to find a percent or write a percent. It's still using the same principle, but we're going to be increasing by percentage in this first example. Now, increasing by a percentage, you'll often see it as a profit or a markup. So let's look at this example then. This is increase 68 kilograms by 32%. Now, it's like our type B example where my answer is going to be in kilograms. I've been given the percentage, but my answer is going to be in kilograms. So option 1 is I can find 32% of 68 kilograms. And remember, 32% is 0.32, okay, because percent means divide it by 100. So I just go 0.32, multiply it, often means multiply it by 68, and that gives me 21.76 kilograms. That's not the answer, that's just the amount it's increased by. So now what I need to do is I need to have the original amount, add the increase to get my final amount. So 68 plus the increase of 21.76 kilograms gives me 89.76 kilograms. That's one way of doing it. The other way of thinking about it is the fact that if my original value and my increase gives me my final value, my original value was 100%. I've increased it by 32%. So my final value is 132% of the original value. So now I can think that all I need to do is I find 132% of my 68 kilograms. 132% is 132 divided by 100. My house value moves 2 places, so it's 1.32 as a digit. A numeral, sorry. 1.32 multiplied by my 68 gives me 89.76 kilograms. So I've done the whole thing in one step. Now, both of these methods are fine. It doesn't matter which method you use. The advantage of this one is I've just had to do one calculation. The advantage of this one is the fact that it's given me the amount of the increase as well as the final answer. So it just depends on the question or what you're more comfortable with. Now, decreasing by a percentage is very similar, except we're subtracting instead of adding. So it's still like a type B example where I'm given a percentage and my final answer is going to be a value. It's going to be an amount, not a percentage, which is a proportion. So option 1. I want to decrease 280 by 16%, so I'm going to find how much the decrease is. So I need to find 16% of 280. So that gives me a decrease amount of $44.80. So now I just need to take the $44.80 away from my original 280. And that gives me $235.20. Option 2 is very similar to what we did in the last example. But this time, my original amount, instead of adding the amount that I've calculated, it's a decrease. I'm going to take it away, and that's going to give me my final value. So if I think my original value was 100% and I've reduced it by 16%, that means my final value is 84% of the original. So now all I need to do is find 84% of 280 kilograms. So 84%, I've converted either to its decimal, or I can do 84 divided by 100. And then all I need to do is multiply that by my original amount that I've started with. And that's going to give me my $235.20. Doesn't matter which method you use, whatever makes sense to you and is more comfortable with you. Now, in the last examples, we were finding an amount, but in this time, sometimes we want to know what proportion it's increased by. So what's the percentage increase? So these are like our type A examples in slide 3, where our answer is a percentage. So if I'm looking at this one here, a town's population increased from 1,560 people to 1,780 people. So what is the percentage increase in population? First of all, I need to find how much it's increased by. So I'm going to find the difference between the two. And so there's an extra 220 people. So for the percentage increase, it's just going to be my part, which is my increased amount, 220, by my original amount, which was 1,560. And I'm multiplying it by 100%. Remember, 100% is the same as multiplying it by 1, but I'm just going to leave that percentage sign in there. So 220 divided by 560 to get my fraction, multiply it by 100, gives me 14.1% increase. I've left that percentage sign in. Percentage decrease, very similar. So here, I've got a shirt that was originally 85%. It was discounted, that's decreased, to 55.25%. What is the percentage discount, or what is the percentage decrease? Same again, it's like our type A example, where my answer is a percentage, not a value. I've been given the values, my answer is a percentage. So first of all, I need to find the amount of the discount. So it's discounted by $29.75. So for my percentage discount is a discounted amount divided by the original amount, which was $85, and times that by 100 and add my percentage sign. So there was a 35% discount. So that's it. Well done, guys. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions.